Now I've gone and done it. I've lifted the Ranger. So in this video, you're going to understand why. Because if you remember from my last video, my suspension or the ride of this car was my number one thing that I loved about this car. And it was also the number one thing that I hated. So have I fixed all the issues? Have I made it for better, for worse? And I'm going to give you a full overview, start to finish install, and my final thoughts about lifting a next-gen Ranger. So let's get into it.
So we're going to announce the winner of last month's episode at the end of this episode, but there'll be a code word that will pop up on the screen, so make sure you keep an eye on that to win in this video. The same thing as last month, we're giving 12 months of giveaways. We're going to give you a $200 voucher towards your next mod that you're going to do to your car. I think that was really popular with you guys because you actually can put it towards something you're going to use, and we'll rerun and rinse and repeat that for this month. But a $200 gift card is, again, once on the line for a lucky viewer of this channel. Just put the code word in your comment down below, and you got to be in it to win it. But let me talk to you about what we've done. So if you remember back on my last video, which went really well, got like 50,000 views, I spoke about the number one thing on this car was suspension. I didn't want to change it because I love the factory ride on these things. It drove so it drove so nice from factory. It was just smooth, really compliant. And as it was my number one thing I didn't like either was the rear leaf pack was sagging. So couldn't handle the weight that I put in the rear, had a few dramas. It was bottoming out everywhere. Once I put the camper trailer on, it was even worse. So yeah, it was just not set up to handle the extra weight. So I spoke to the guys at Profender. We have been speaking for about 3 months now, getting this kit essentially set up for this car. So I've spoken about the mods I've done, the mods I'm going to do to the front. So there's going to be a little bit more about that later on in another video. But there'll be some mods done to the front as well. So we've gone from a 0 to 100 coil pack at the front, and we've gone a 240 kilo leaf pack at the rear. So the actual leaves themselves only have an extra leaf pack in there compared to factory. So yeah, I think you get 5 compared to 4, but they're a lot thicker, which is nice. So they're handling that extra weight really, really well. Once we actually took out the factory rear leaves, you can actually see how much they've flattened. So in the car, they were essentially flat and almost going the wrong way, just with the weight and the kind of stuff on the rear. But you know, that's just factory suspension. You can't do much about it. But now we've got a nice curve in our suspension. The rear's obviously gone up, nice 75 mil. The front's gone up 75 mil as well. It is a 2.5 inch lift kit, so it is about where it should be. And also, you're probably going to get a little bit of sag from that as well. Naturally, as suspension settles in and that kind of thing, you're probably going to get a little bit of sag as well. So in about a month's time, I'm going to remeasure it and just sort of see where it sits. But at the moment, we've gained 75 mil, which is pretty good. Now, let's talk about the front setup because there's a fair bit going on here. So we've upgraded, obviously, the coil and the shocks. We've added a remote resi shock absorber, which has also got 8-way dampening adjustability. So it's got a dial in there. You can twist and set it up to how you want to. And we've also upgraded the front sway bar links. Now, this is a big part of the whole package. It's an adjustable sway bar link, which is obviously suited for the extra lift kit. So obviously using the factory sway bar, there's to a set size. We've got an adjustable one now. We can actually set up
So it's perfectly, so when you have your sway bar link, it's connecting essentially to your upper UCA, to your bottom sway bar connection. So it's connecting to your sway bar itself. You want to have that nice and flush when it sits into the actual into the upper control arm and obviously into the sway bar. You don't want that on any angles because that's what causes dramas, and your sway bar can't flex and do its right things and all that kind of stuff. So it's definitely something you should be looking at when you're lifting a car 2 to 2.5 inches. Probably going to have to look at a bit of a diff drop kit in the front because obviously the CVs, as you would naturally know, have started to get in a bit of an angle with the lift kit. It's not too bad. So I had this set up with a Trident actually, and they had a 2-inch lift kit for a long time there. And I didn't really do any CVs with that, except for one when I went out to Brunswick, which is pretty natural for going out to Brunswick if you're aware of the area. But yeah, they're not too bad. I haven't had any noise. It doesn't bind up or anything like that, which is good. But I'll keep an eye on it because I might have to do a bit of a diff drop later on down the track, but that's no big drama. There's kits and that kind of stuff thing for this car already. So let me get into the drivability of it. Compared to factory, it's actually better now. So when I say better, it's a lot more compliant on the road. It doesn't wobble, it doesn't lean over, it doesn't do all those kind of things that a heavy car on the road does. So I dial up the adjustable dampeners up to 3. So when I get off the beach, I put them onto 3. That gives me a real firm ride, and it's again as firm as factory, but a lot more compliant for your highway driving, your around town driving, and that kind of stuff. It just really makes the car planted, and the driving dynamics are fantastic on the road. So you don't get that sway over when you sort of have to move lanes and that kind of thing. When you're going around like a roundabout, you don't get that lean over feeling. It just really has set up the car perfectly. On the beach, I'll give you a bit of a drone shot and that kind of stuff on the screen, but on the beach, this thing's set to 0. It floats across the beach. I mean, I can get a max of 50 Ks in my drone, but this thing was following me down the beach and I had absolute compliance. You don't feel like the car is jumping all over the air. Like when you're driving down the beach and you're going over ruts and that kind of thing, generally there's little ruts and that kind of stuff like these things when you're going over them, when someone's driving across where you're going, they can actually make the car jump around a bit, because if your car hasn't been set up well, your car can start jumping all over the beach and it feels horrible. So all that comes through the car and you're sort of moving all over the joint, but this thing just literally point and shoot, it'll just float across those ruts and those whoops and that kind of thing, and just absolutely nails it. It's very compliant on the beach. I'm super happy how this thing drives on the beach, especially since like coming from factory with the rear sagging so much, that used to bottom out everywhere. It just you just feel so much more confident driving along the beach and that kind of stuff. Now, obviously, I haven't had a chance to talk about it, sort of drive this in the bush and that kind of thing. I came to do a few muds, I came to do a few rocks and that kind of stuff, see how it flexes up, see how it goes. But if anything, from first impressions on the beach and driving along here and going through whoops and ruts and that kind of stuff, this thing's going to be absolutely epic on the corrugations and gravel and that kind of stuff. So really keen to sort of see how it handles that. But yeah, as I said, first impressions, this thing has just blown me away. So as I said, one thing that I can give you a bit of advice in from this video and a bit of personal experience, make sure you go through all your weights and that kind of stuff with the company that you're dealing with, just to make sure it's going to be set up right, so you can actually get it driving to what your weights and your setup is. But once you get it dialed in and once you get it set up, these things are absolutely awesome. They've really nailed it. Profender's killed it. They've, as I said, we've been talking for about 3 months and just getting this thing set up to how we want it. And full disclosure, they supplied this kit to me. So there was originally a conversation that I was going to buy this kit from them and do the whole setup. They said they wanted to work with me and obviously do some stuff on the channel. And I said, all right, well, can I openly talk about the kit and what I think about it? And, if there's anything goes wrong and that kind of stuff later on down the track, I can be open about it with you guys. And they said, yep, they were happy with that. But they were pretty confident there's nothing going to go wrong. And I can understand where they're coming from now, because this is a bloody well set up kit. But yeah, it's full disclosure, fully supplied by Profender. But I'm happy to work with the guys because the service was absolutely unreal. They were addressing all my concerns because, I just don't jump into these things lightly. I make sure I'm dealing with someone or a company that's obviously going to look after you guys, because if you're going to use my advice and have a look at their website and potentially buy something, I want to make sure the service and everything is right. Delivery, anything that goes wrong, I can get a bit of an idea about before obviously recommending to you guys. But for the last 3 months and all the dealings I've had with them has been fantastic. The support has been awesome. And they've just absolutely killed the kit. So I've got to give props to those guys. They've absolutely nailed it. And as you can see, I'm bloody stoked. This is a killer kit. And yeah, I'm just going to give you some more feedback along the way. Obviously 12 months and, 2 years down the track and that kind of stuff. tell you about the kit, how it's going, and all that kind of thing, and see what's gonna, what's gonna sort of manifest over the time. But yeah, if anything like first impressions, it's gonna be bloody epic. So pretty stoked to have them on board with the channel. So it's probably my first official big sponsor I've had for a long time. So yeah, happy to have those guys on the channel, and they've supported me really well, and they've done an absolutely epic job on the kit. So yeah, I'm happy to recommend them. So stay to the end of the video, guys. I'm going to give you some details on who won the last video. They need to get in contact with me, obviously via the email. But yeah, as I said, first impressions, this thing now drives like a dream. It drives absolutely epic on the beach. And all my worries about losing the factory ride and that kind of stuff are absolutely gone. It's absolutely killer kit. So once again, epic job on the setup. So that's enough from me. Stay to the end of the video to see who won last month's prize. And yeah, obviously learn the details about this prize coming up for the next month, which is another $200 voucher. But if I don't see you in the next video, I might see you out in the traction trails, guys. If I don't see you in the traction trails, I shall see you later. Have a great Sunday, and we'll see you again in May.